Hello again. In the fourth round, I faced Taneli Lallukka, 1900 player. I thought he would play the Karokan, but he surprised me with the Russian defense. Seems like some of the weaker players like to play solidly against me and worse openings against their peers. I thought for a while of playing d4, but I didn't really know much at all. So I just played my usual stuff. And here, yeah, I don't know too much about theory. I could play d4. This time, okay, I played knight c3. I was hoping to get some kind of attack going. I was hoping that he would castle short and I would castle queenside. Something exciting would happen, but I basically forgot that black can still play solidly, even in this variation, which is yeah, annoying for me and good for him. And yeah, it's just there's black has very few weaknesses. It's just hard to do much here. He's so solid. Um, and I kind of remember there are some choices here for white. I just made a random move here, h3. I was hoping this would be somehow harder to meet. Like maybe in some cases I can play g4. Probably not immediately because of h5, but some cases. And this is also like a waiting move. He castled, and this was my point, knight d4. The idea is to play like bishop b5. Um, he could play, like after the game he also mentioned, he could play a6. And black is solid. I can win the bishop pair, but you know, it's nothing special. But instead he decides to capture, and now I have a double attack. And this was the reason why I waited with h3, because the rook is not defending a7. I mean, he saw this double attack, but thought this was worth a try. But it looks like in the end there's just not enough compensation. My queen is lacking in squares, but it seems like it just has, you know, enough to survive. He tries queen a4, a3, b5, hoping to play in some cases like d5 and open things up. Um, for example, I considered playing queen h6, but here d4 could have been really tricky. I pin the pawn, but he can take on a3, rook takes, and you know, there's like bishop b2, and computer even showed bishop b4, which I missed. But yeah, I calculated some fun lines here. I can show just for fun what I calculated. It seems like king e1 could be played, but king e3 was what I was looking at, and something like this. And black wins the queen. Well, so yeah, because of that variation, I just put my queen on e5 instead. Uh, keeping an eye on the d4 square. Bishop d6 kicks my queen away, but queen h5, and now the bishop is blocking the rook, so it's not so easy for him to play d4. And he unleashes b5, which was a complete surprise, but it turned out to be a pleasant surprise. Like he's planning to play b4, but after a brief panic, I just realized I can just take on d5. Okay, little exchange sacrifice, but I was already up a pawn, and now I win another pawn. Rook c5 is coming. I'm just very comfortable here. He takes. I take back. My queen is coming in. For some reason, he allows my queen to come in. I guess he just missed I could play queen c6. I win one more pawn. I could trade queens, but I thought I want to win the game faster. Bishop c6 is coming. Also, the rook is hanging. Defends the rook. It's rook d1. Queen c6. Bishop c6. Now he cannot play bishop c7 because it's mate. So he's very paralyzed. Rook c7. I play king b1 with the idea of maybe playing bishop f4 or bishop c5. I just wanted to get my king out of this weak diagonal, so no surprise checks can happen. And he miscalculates one more time. Bishop e7. I just take, and bishop f4, and it's gonna be mate. So this was a easy game, which is always nice. In this tournament, I haven't had too many of those. The last round I faced Thomas Martinek, 2100. The first time I met him was also in Salo. I lost. It was a Karakan. And I was expecting him to play e4, but he surprised me with d4. And I played recently a lot of Dutch, but he usually knows quite a bit of theory, so I thought, let's play something more solid. It's nimzo-indian. Yeah, my theory is lacking a lot here, but I still know, something. Queen c2, a castle, e4, and this is kind of annoying. I was hoping he would play something more solid, but this is very forcing. And especially if I play the main move, d5. I think just very, very forcing, and the theory continues for who knows how many moves. Instead, I play d6. This is a move I learned from Erik Hansen. I just saw that he played this in some games, like blitz games. And I thought, hey, maybe this is a word to try. Might make the game, let's say, you have to use your own brain more, maybe. Maybe it's easier to play for a win. But I also don't really know too much about this, except you try to put some kind of blockade on the dark squares. Bishop d3. So e5 is coming. And yeah, I was kind of I don't know how to explain it. I felt like I didn't have to worry about too much about e5. I didn't really calculate. Also, I wasn't sure about my knowledge either. But I just felt like c5 should somehow work. And it does. So I'm happy about that. After e5, I mean, if he played e5, I wasn't sure what I was gonna play. I was thinking of playing d takes e5, but this is actually just a, yeah, it's just a like a big mistake. My knight on g4 is really badly placed, and h7 is hanging all the time, and black is just in trouble. The best move is just to play knight to d7. I also considered this move in my mind, but I was slightly worried of getting somehow checkmated on the h file, like some kind of checkmate like this, but there's a simple defense, queen h4, which I missed. I think I was only looking at like g6, but then white can take or play queen h3. Hopefully I would have found that if he had played e5. Um, but yeah, he just played a3, take, knight c6, knight e2, and I take on d4. I kind of like remember seeing this move in some positions. Um, the idea is to, one idea is to open the C file. Another idea is to, of course, weaken the d4 square. Like in some cases, if white castles and plays like f4, e5, I can take on e5, f takes e5, I can take on d4. If the pawns were still on c5 and c3, that wouldn't be possible. So there's some kind of tactics like that, but it's very possible that the timing of my move was uh, not ideal. I should have waited, maybe, and only take on d4 after white plays f4. It's not so clear if it matters too much. Like it's like very, very small details. Bishop a6, just putting pressure on c4. And he surprised me with bishop g5. This was, yeah, very annoying. Here I started thinking I'm basically just lost. Just couldn't find a defense. He's just gonna play f4, e5. And yeah, how do I get out of this pin? It's just looking really bad for me. I finally find a defense, and I just played quickly without really worrying about things too much because I just couldn't see anything else. Like I briefly thought, okay, if he's gonna play f4, I'm like, whatever, the hell with him. Like if it works, it just works. I didn't really even calculate it or take it seriously. But f4 even though it's like very surprising, it's actually quite easy to calculate. Like the tactic is, not so hard. So if I take with the e pawn, he sacks a piece, but the idea is you just pin the knight, and next rook f4, and he's gonna get the piece back. So the best move is here is not to take on f4, but play like knight h5 or something else, and black can still fight. But yeah, he didn't see that, and instead played queen f4, kind of a weird move. Play knight f5. Uh, if he takes on e5, his bishop is hanging and then his knight, so he has no time to take on e5. Instead he plays knight c3, maybe not the best. Rook c8, I'm just attacking c4, knight b5, and I just take it because the knight was better than my bishop. And he takes back with the c pawn to defend his pawn, and also he's keeping my knight out of the game. It cannot really go anywhere at the moment. Rook c3, rook fd1, and here I thought for quite a bit of time trying to make knight b3 work. But yeah, it's just like very confusing, and it seems like in the end it doesn't quite work for white. The knight is still hanging, and d6 is hanging, and the black king is weak. Like very confusing position. And instead of all those complications, I played it safe. Knight h5. He takes. I take his bishop. And this position, he has a bad bishop because he has these e4 and b5 pawns. And a lot of my play has been just centered on putting everything on the dark squares. And now that the white's dark square bishop is gone, my pieces feel free. Bishop e2, queen c7, rook d5. This was an annoying move. First of all, it's stopping queen c5. Second, if I play knight b3, knight d4, the rook on d5 will still be active. So here I thought for a very long time. I don't remember exactly how long. I could look at my score sheet, but it doesn't really matter too much. I think for like 30 minutes or more. Because I felt like my position is really good here, and I just couldn't find a plan here. His queen is like so it's almost trapped. I can play rook b3, so the queen can't move anywhere. But I couldn't make it work. Like there's no threat at the moment. And there's also maybe it's just like bishop d1. Oh, I just, yeah, I was looking at all kinds of plans. Couldn't make any of them work. And in the end, just played the normal move, knight b3, just activating my knight. The only bad side is that his queen is now slightly more active, just putting pressure on a7, and rook d7 is coming, which is very annoying. And yeah, I just couldn't find anything here. Just couldn't find. And because I previously spent the 30 minutes, I was quite low on time already. So just had to play something. So I played rook c4, queen s6. Now the queen is completely paralyzed, but rook d7 is coming. And I play rook c1, which I wasn't happy about it, but I just didn't know what to do, to be honest. There were two plans that were still, I could have still played for a win. One was this really weird queen b8, like playing this super passive move. The idea is to meet rook d7 with rook c7, and then just keep the game going. As long as I'm able to exchange the d7 rook, I can play for a win because I have my knight is superior to his bishop and his queen is out of play. And the other plan was h5, which I considered, but I was only thinking about playing king g7, rook h8, trying to somehow mate. But the right plan is kind of similar, but like more refined. Rook e8, bishop g4, rook e6. If bishop takes, I take back with the pawn and the rook on d5 is hanging. And next, if white doesn't take, I have some kind of plans like rook f6 or rook h6, king g7, like rook c2, and somehow black is doing really well here, which is, I mean, it's kind of easy to understand because the queen on a6 doesn't have any moves, but still black has to play like very precisely to uh, to get his win. And rook d7 I think is better, and now black can even sacrifice his queen, and somehow black is playing for a win here too. Again, the queen is kind of like has no squares, and there are some mating ideas like king g7, rook h8, knight e2, rook c2, and there's a kind of mate on h1. Kind of weird stuff there. But yeah, I didn't see any of those. I just played rook c1. He took, I took back, king h2, queen e1, training a pawn on f2 and e4. So he took on e5, but yeah, computer wants to take on a7 instead. And no matter what I do, take on f2 or e4, for some reason queen d7 and white is just better. Um, my rook on f8 cannot go anywhere. It's like completely paralyzed, and rook d6 will happen. And yeah, I'm in big trouble. But instead he took on e5, took on f2, queen s7, and here I played a nice move. rook c8. And this was the reason why the queen had to be on d7. So the rook is hanging, but I have a check here. King h3, and I can either take the rook and maybe play for a win, or I can do like a perpetual. Or if he wants, he might even get checkmated. Maybe not here. Maybe this is just a perpetual. But at least this is perpetual. So instead of that, he just played queen e7. I go for checkmate. He sacrifices his rook, and yeah, it's just a perpetual. This kind of algorithm: queen d8, queen g5, queen h4, 5, and my king can't escape. Yeah, oh, kind of, kind of annoying. I felt like I had something, and I did, but it was, yeah, not easy to find. And yeah, draw. Draw is a fair result. Um, in the end, I won the tournament, 4 out of 5 points. I lost 10 Salo Finnish rating points, so that's gonna be painful. So my road to back to 2500 is gonna take a bit longer. And yeah, that's it. I won 95 euros. Didn't have to pay a participation fee. So pure money, 95 euros. Oh my god. Yeah, that's it. Bye bye.